Hi, I'm Gianfranco Monzini, Vice President, Process Electrification Practice. Today I'm here with Ian Nachemson. He is the Vice President for Business Technology at H2 Green Steel. So great to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
And I would be extremely interested to understand a little bit more about H2 Green Steel, what you're doing, how you developed the company, and what has been driving the investment, which are the challenges that you're seeing in this new venture that you're bringing to the market.
Sure, yeah, happy to tell you a bit about that. So H2 Green Steel is a Swedish company founded about 3 years ago, and we are on the mission to decarbonize hard-to-abate industries, starting with steel. So what we've done is that we've created a company which is now about 400 employees. We have secured a permit, secured a site, raised about $7 billion, and are now on track to build the world's first completely integrated and electrified green hydrogen, green iron, and green steel manufacturing site. So this will be located in northern Sweden in a town called Boden, and this will be the site, hopefully, of many sites to really then decarbonize the steel production process. So we will be producing high-quality flat steel for the automotive industry, construction segment, white goods, appliances, with a footprint which is 95% less than that of the benchmark product. And the steel industry is an extremely emissive industry, accounting for about 8% of the world's CO2. So achieving that 95% electrified decarbonization is a huge effort, and one that we hope will serve to inspire many projects globally.
Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, if we look at what you're doing, this is really an impact maker company. You are changing the way we are producing steel. You are helping many customers across the globe to decarbonize also their use of steel. And I'm extremely interested as well to understand how the electricity is playing. What's the difference between a Greenfield project like that versus maybe another company that has to decarbonize their operations?
Yeah, so as you mentioned, we are a Greenfield company, which means that we have zero legacy in terms of no existing sites prior to launch, and really had, of course, all the challenges that come with that, needing to develop all the infrastructure, the human, the capital infrastructure, etc. But with that comes a luxury also, because we can optimize the selection of the site on the basis of what this new technology paradigm requires, which for us is green electricity. And that changes the logic completely about where you locate a facility like ours. So if you compare where we are, which is in the northern part of Sweden, versus where the European steel industry is centered today, that is primarily Germany and Poland, those different locations are primarily owing to the fact that our process is based on electricity and the previous process is based on coal. So this really shifts the landscape and the logic of how you establish these new facilities. And we have selected northern Sweden owing to the fact that there is an abundance of affordable and green electric power, primarily coming from hydropower and also increasing wind penetration, putting really that region at the most affordable electricity rates in the world. And this allows us to produce the green steel at a competitive price point, and certainly will not be possible to compete if you are a brownfield player converting your existing operations in Germany or Poland to something electrical, because the power prices are 3, 4, sometimes even higher than what we have in northern Sweden.
It's definitely more challenging. And I think we speak a lot about technology innovation. I think what is important and what you are showing also to the market is a different approach to the business model. How it is important as well to position yourself in the market with a green product. I think that's also quite interesting.
Yeah, no, I think our project is extremely capital intense. So, addressing 2.5 million tons of steel, this is what we're going to produce. This is about 2% of the European flat steel market, requires about $6-7 billion. And we have to raise that externally through both debt and equity investors. To raise that capital, you need to demonstrate the market is there, that there's a willingness to pay for this premium product. So really, we started the project on that basis, is to secure the customer interest and the customer offtake. And we have engaged them in many ways, which I think is somewhat different than how you would develop projects otherwise. They have really been co-creators of the project from day one. They have influenced the way that we design the facilities so that we can meet the product specifications. They have come in as early investors. So a lot of our initial equity investors were also from the customer side. And they have, most importantly, committed in unforeseen type of take-or-pay contracts at about 40-50% of the total volume of the plant for a long duration. And of course, securing these revenues makes it possible for us to attract the capital and then to deploy the project. So without having that new business model of working with the customers as investors, developers, and off-takers, we would not be able to get the project going.
So I think you touch a very important point, which is early engagement with investors. I think that what is also changing today is the early engagement with partner and company with expertise to make the project bankable. Have you been, what's your approach? Do you think that the early engagement is becoming more and more important? So H2 Green Steel working in advance with the future potential suppliers and so on?
Yeah, no, I think with the immense challenges that you have to face to develop a project like this, where you're creating a new market, you're launching a new product, you're financing something which is on the scale that has never been greenfield financed before, you cannot do it alone. You have to align the complete value chain from your raw material suppliers to your equipment suppliers, to your customers, to the regulators, to the municipality. Everyone needs to work together and with a very high degree of transparency in order to make this work in the time that we have made it work. So I think partnership and transparency has really been key for us to achieve the achievements that we have in this amount of time. And I think it requires a different mindset. So I think you need to work with hypotheses. You need to deliver answers directionally, even before you have an engineering drawing necessarily to support it. And I think this is quite different from the way that you develop large capital projects typically, where you have a very phased engineering kind of structured way of developing the projects, developing the technical documents that will then feed to the receiver of those, whether that is the grid operator or something like this. For us, we had to develop hypotheses across all information segments from day one and then refine them continuously so that we could parallel process all of these interfacing projects, whether that is a customer project, it's an investment project, it's an infrastructure development in the port project. We needed to have answers from day one, and of course we needed to work with hypotheses. And I think getting comfortable with working with hypotheses and refining those as you go with a large number of partners, I think that is a mindset switch which is really required if you want to develop these projects in the time that is really required.
Yeah, I really like what you said, that we need to start having answers from day one. I think this is extremely important. So great to have you today. All the best for the next phase of your project, and I think we are going to see how many tons of green steel.
So 2.5 in phase one, and then doubling that in the same location to 4.5 to 5 million by 2030.
Okay, that's amazing.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.